Hello there everyone, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, Better Than Starting Man. We are back and we are looking into some more design work on the Moho Mission Mark II. Now I'm doing some research on some work on these ships. Now this and trying to figure out how to balance out the fuel. Now I think I've figured most of it out, but I need to just look at some stuff here and figure it out. So for all intents and purposes, we're ignoring this first fuel tank. The only purpose this fuel tank is going to serve is basically getting this thing the last few meters to the ground. Which means that this stage is the landing stage. Now this stage, it weighs 70 tons, and I've been told it requires, a stage for it to be efficient requires 40% of the mass to be fuel. Not just the tanks, but the fuel. So with that in mind, I've calculated out how much fuel is in each of these tanks. And as it works out, this ship has currently 32, 42, 48 tons of fuel of the 70 tons. So there's actually far more fuel in this stage than is necessary for the landing, for it to be appropriately balanced, I guess, is... Or I should say that's the minimum. The 40% is the minimum. And I really want this stage to have the minimum in it. So a 52-ton ship with 32 tons of fuel in it, that is 60%. But that might be appropriate for a landing stage. Or we can move these up a little, closer to one another. Or, more precisely, take them off. And maybe even use a smaller engine. I mean, how much fuel is it going to take to land this thing? I guess the thing I haven't figured out is how much delta V it's going to take to get down to Moho, but I have a hunch that that needs to be a little larger. Okay. So that gives us... How much fuel is that? 40 tons of ship with 24 tons of fuel. It's still a little more than 50%. I think that might be about right for the landing stage. Okay. I am going to ask your opinions before launching this, but I'm going to do a full round of design here. Okay. Now this stage is going to be the only one that's going to have RCS on it for the actual flight. Actually, right, I didn't add the RCS, so that actually balances things out a little bit more. I wish we had a small flat tank. That would be really nice. But since we don't, we'll just use these again. So 4 of these full is a little less than the 700, than this guy right here. And then I have these ones, 4 50% tanks up there. So yeah, so that's 43 tons, 24 of which is fuel. I think that'll be good for stage 1. Alright, now we need the orbital injection stage. So everything I know is telling me that this is going to wind up being... This stage needs more... Excuse me. Getting over a cold today. I'm leaning towards doing a 4-engine design here rather than one single... Well, okay. Let's think. I could do a 3-engine. Could that handle 3? I could handle 3 engines. Okay. So if we put on 3 tanks like this... And then 3... I'm trying to figure out a way to make it more compact, you see. I don't want this thing to be a tipping hazard. I have a sneaking hunch that's not going to be enough fuel. Let's... You know what? Let's use orange tanks. Let's put on 3 orange tanks and do the math. I think that might be a little excessive. But let's have a look. 3 orange tanks. 3 poodle engines. Okay. Now, keeping in mind that I don't think I have the piece of paper where I scratched out the research notes on actual... Yeah, no, of course not. The actual process of getting to Moho. That would have been too clever of me today. Okay. Alright, so it is a 158-ton ship now, which means it actually exceeds the power of our largest, most powerful launcher. So I think that's too excessive. I want this to... Let's go with a... If I go with a 2-stage solution... I could go with a 2-stager. Okay. 2-stage ship weighs exactly 120, which means my 2-stage launcher could just barely push this thing into orbit. More importantly, of a 120-ton ship, 64 of it, so 50% of it is fuel, which means I could actually, theoretically, cut it down to 3/4 of that. 2 of those, 2 of those, 2 of those, 2 of these. Okay, so we have on this ship we have 16 times 3 is 32, 48, 64 tons of... Wait, hold on. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is... math. Math is hurting me. 32 tons in the 2 big gray tanks. Another 16 takes us to 48. Another 8 takes us to 54 tons on a 111-ton ship. Excuse me. 111 tons. That 50. Yeah, okay, that will work. All right, next we take the double stack, flip it over, snap it on there. Okay. Oh, except only 1. There we are. All right. This is going to require a little bit of strut work because it's not going to anchor the way I would like. Right, it's not going to mirror right either. Actually, you know what? We're only going to need 2 anyways. Come on. Okay. So my instinct at this stage, correct me if I'm wrong, that I need another 1 stage on this. I feel that I will need 1 more stage on this. Oh, there's the problem. Okay, I know what's wrong. I need decouplers. There, that's better. Much more structurally sound. So that gives me double power for the injection period, which is really important because that means it will take half as long to do the orbital injection process. I needed to mirror these, didn't I? Yeah, so it gives me twice the amount of time to do my orbital injection process, or it'll take half the time to pull it off, and thus half the time to accomplish orbit, or not orbit, but yeah, achieve orbit around Moho. Alright, let's get some RCS thrusters on here. So this is stage 2. Alright. Let's get some RCS thrusters on here. We'll get 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. That should be enough to control this thing effectively. Okay. Now then, this is the piece we're launching. This is phase 1. Phase 2 is going to be a pure fuel monstrosity that's going to get docked onto this. And it's going to get docked onto this piece right here. And that should work perfectly. Because, yeah, we'll use a docking, we'll put a docking port on it. If I can find it. Right, it would be this right here. 1 large docking port facing down. And then we strap our 120-ton launcher onto this and put it in orbit. And that's phase 1. Oh, and yep, solar's in place. I'll get one more set of RCS thrusters on here. I'll feel better if there's one more set. 2 and 3. Okay. So this is my thought. So this is going to be the so stage 1 or top stage. Pardon my coughing. I'm really, this cold I've got is really hurting. Okay, so stage 2 is, so the top piece, the very top piece, I should say. Okay, we don't want to blow off that by accident, but so this piece right here, that's our science rig. It's also the piece that is going to do the landing. This plus this little tiny bit of fuel for the final approach. Now, if I've done it right, there should be a full set of science tools on here. Where is the gravioli? Did I forget? I see 2 barometers. Hold on. Thermometer... Wait, that antenna's really light, isn't it? Okay. Antenna weighs 0.025. Thermometer also weighs 0.025. Okay. Barometers 0.05 are matching the seismometer at 0.1. You know what? Better solution. Let's just mirror the barometers right there. And then we'll put the seismometer over here, and the, no, seismometer's not mirrored. Seismometer there, gravioli right here. There, everything's visible, accessible, and useful. Okay, good. So yeah, so landing stage minus, we're not going to be landing with the imager. We'll blow that off the top before landing, which will cut an extra, well, I think that weighs a fair chunk. That's 0.6. Plus the, of course, the decoupling mechanism, which I made sure to choose a decoupling mechanism that will leave no debris, which I thought would be important. So yes, so this stage will be the landing stage. This stage will be the orbital injection stage. And then we will build a big pure fuel stage as our orbital insertion stage. 120-ton lifter, Mark 1. I think that's the one that finally actually worked. So all we need now is a decoupler. And then a whole bunch of work to repair the inevitable glitching and stuff that will have occurred due to the slightly clumsy nature of this design. Okay, I'll start here. Oh, no. Right there. No, I want... Okay, fine. Whatever. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Attach the decoupler very carefully to here. Lots and lots of structure. And then we'll attach the decoupler, or these, yeah, I suspected as much. That surface is not designed to have things actually attached to it initially. So we're going to put 8 more right here. And 8 more right there. Hopefully that's enough to structurally hold it together. Next, we'll just fix this right here. All right. So let's have a look at our staging. So yeah, everything is completely scrambled. So I will fix this off camera because it's a absolute mess. Wow. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to get this thing up high enough to actually launch. I hope that's high enough. It is just barely high enough for this monstrosity. Holy crap. Okay, well that is part 1, other than fixing the staging. So let's just quickly design a new ship. I'm going to start with a docking port It's going to need its own... Actually, you know what? I could design this. I have a plan. Okay. So starting of... No. All right, we'll start with a Probodyne, an octoprobodyne, because we could just turn that off. Actually, that's probably the best solution, isn't it? If we just turn the full thing off, put a decoupler on there and a docking port on top of that, that's the flight portion of the ship. Now it's going to have the bulk of the RCS. It's going to have its own RCS tank, which we will then take with us and use it for course corrections after departure, but before our orbital insertion burn. Sort of like we did last time. Okay, and that should make that structurally sound. Now it needs its own battery power because it's not going to have any solar. That will also bulk out the battery power. Okay, completely unnecessarily. We'll need one large battery should be more than enough. In fact, probably too much, but that'll buy me breathing time if I have trouble with my docking or encountering process. We'll put six thrusters on there, and now it's time to think about fuel. And this is our departure phase. So it comes right down to it. Let's think about it for a minute. 111-ton ship is the payload this thing has to move is 111 tons. I remember that. Let's call it 100 and round it up to 112 even, just in case I forgot about something. Okay, so that means that the fuel on this stage is pushing 112 tons of ship. My instinct is we're going to need a lot. So we put 4 of those on. We're already up to 185 tons, so that's way too much fuel. If we need that much, we are doomed. So I think we want 3 engines will get us... Okay. Is this excessive? Quite conceivably. But let's do the math. 111-ton ship plus 120 tons of ship will make a... Okay, this is just shy of 120 tons, so it's actually pushing excessive. Well, how much fuel is there? 32, 64... 64... 96 of a... So it's 96 of 100 and... Let's see, so it's 120 tons of this ship, 112 on the other one. Of that 232 ton ship, 90 tons of it would be fuel for that payload. 96 tons, sorry. If I understand the math correctly, that is just about bang on the mark for this stage. So close, I'm almost concerned. And I think I can make this much, much more structurally sound than it is, if these aren't too heavy. This design... Okay, now it's just over 120 tons. Oh, but... Oh. Okay, hold on. Let's think this through a little harder. We could save ourselves a lot of mass for the actual flight by taking this off, moving all this down. Okay, let's just use this as a temporary anchor. Okay, docking port there, ship base there, and another tri-adapter down here. Oh, with decouplers. We'll need decouplers. Okay. I could probably amp up my booster just a little with a tiny bit of work. Maybe with... Okay. Put that right there. Okay, that is the payload. So this is going to be the departure phase. 115 tons. Now we do also need the part of the ship that's actually going to put this to generate our encounter. That I have not done the math for. Okay, let's see if we can get away with a little less fuel. Let's go with the same... So we did a double stack adapter for stage 2. So let's do a tri-stack for stage 3 with the same amount of fuel. So this is the part that matters right now. All right, so we've got 101 tons of fuel. So, or sorry, 101 ton ship. And on that ship there is, let's see, 16, 24, 16 plus 8 is 24, plus 84 is 28, 48. Oh my gosh. Calculator time. My brain isn't working right now. I need to make sure these are right. So 16 plus 8 plus 4 times 3. That gives us 84 tons of fuel. So 84 tons. The ship will weigh, because we're not going to be taking along any extraneous batteries or any extraneous RCS, because that's all going to get used for the docking process only. So 213 ton ship, 40% of 213 times 0.40 is 85. So we are half a ton short of that 40% mark. We could hit that. We could hit that number. All we'd have to do would be to add. This would put us, 3 of those would put us just ever so slightly over the mark, because that would add, it's now 108 ton ship, but with, let's see, 2.25 minus 2, so it's 2 tons of fuel on that. So 6 more tons of fuel. So 112 plus 108 times 0.4 is 88 tons of fuel. We've added 6 tons to our 84, which means we've hit 90. So there we are. That's exactly the right amount of fuel. Well, okay. It's like 2 tons more than the right amount of fuel, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. And I think math-wise, that is just about right for the project. I know I've been told I could probably do this with a smaller set of ships, but it just, you know, I looked at the design I just did, and I just don't see it making it. I just doesn't feel like it's enough. Okay, so with that done, now we need 3 decoupling nodes. 1 tri-stack adapter and 1 maneuvering thruster to put it into docking position. This is where this piece will now move to. If I've done my job right, this should attach. Oh, please, come on. Don't you dare do this to me, you stupid thing. I hate it when this happens. I really do. Okay, first problem is there's 3 pieces here. There should only be 1. Gotta watch when you're doing that, by the way. Okay. Oh man, you gotta be kidding me, really? It's gonna be that fidgety about this? Oh man, moving things around in 3D space is sometimes a real pain. Alright. Alright, let's see if we can just flip that over and make them join together proper. Nope. Okay, maybe. You know what? Oh, I got it. I have an idea. Let's see if we can use this root tool. Root. Okay, let's see if that worked. It did! Ha! Look at that. I made that piece the root of the ship, which means it's no longer an issue. Good. Okay. Alright, there's 1 battery, 1 RCS tank. And then we need basically as much fuel as we can add to this thing. So we're going to have to plan a really careful intercept. That's part of it. Going to be part of this. So it's 114 tons. That would take it up to 123. Which would be too much for this thing to, my standard ship, to boost into orbit. 118. I mean, I would have additional power, but 119 121 tons. I think we can pull that off. It's not a lot of fuel for the docking process, but if I do my job right, it shouldn't need more than that. Let me just confirm how much additional leeway I have. Whoops. Who's the anchor? That's the anchor. Okay, that's fine. This shall be called the Moho Interplanetary Booster. Okay. So last step will be the 120-ton launcher, and we'll see how much leeway we'd have to improve it to a 130-ton launcher. Because the critical thing is that 1,000-ton limit we're working under. And the answer is 60. Okay, we got a little bit of space, so we could add. Okay, if we add more fuel to this stage, we'll have to use it to push us into orbit. But let's do it this way. Let's put a medium-sized tank on here instead. Okay, and then we'll add... Can we squeeze any more fuel on here safely? We could add one of the... Can't add any more of those. I suppose we could squeeze... You know what we could do just to get a little bit more juice out of this thing? Best bet would be to put it on the lowest stage. We could just add 4 plain old vanilla boosters to this thing. How much do they weigh anyways? Those ones weigh 21 tons each, so they're too big. BACs weigh 7.65, let's just see. Just barely over the threshold. Okay, that's not going to work. I could do them on this stage. That would be 4 of them, but that would be on the upper stage, which would be adding mass to the wrong part of the ship. Or I could just add another 30 tons of fuel to this stage and have a big honking monster for the final push, but I don't know that I would actually gain anything from that. Would a 30-ton ship? It's either that or I take 6 tons off this stage. And put them on this stage. Okay, if I play my cards right, it should not take me that much fuel to actually do an orbital intercept. I could, if I time it right, I should be able to pull this off with a small tank. Because it's once you get close enough, it's mostly RCS work anyways. And I'm going to have this whole tank here if I don't go overweight, which I don't intend to. Poodle there. Oh, that's already a poodle. Never mind. We've double poodled. Double our poodles. Okay. And that's still in the ground because of the sheer size of this monster. Okay, let's zoom out a little further, move up a little further. See how we're doing. Okay, so the only thing that'll be left is fixing the staging on both these ships. But this is going to be the fuel to push us from here to Moho. Stage 2 will push us from orbital intercept to... Oh, I almost forgot the details. Details, all about the details. RCS thrusters. 1, 2... Actually, 2 sets should be more than enough for this. That'll give us plenty of maneuverability, I think. Okay. So, yeah, a little stabilization, some struts, and a few other details. And in the next episode, barring a statement of, oh dear God, this isn't going to work, you have completely screwed up your math, we'll launch. So... Thanks for watching, everybody. Advice, feedback, comments, queries, always appreciated. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.